Today is March the 1st. What does it mean to know God? Let's find out together as we read the story of the Passover. Today I'd like you to read Exodus chapters 12 to 14, the story of Israel leaving Egypt and the first Passover. So these chapters are fairly straightforward. In chapter 12, we have the inauguration of the Passover. The literal meaning of the Passover was that the angel of death sent to kill the firstborn of everything in Egypt, from livestock to people, unless the family had slaughtered a lamb and put the blood of the lamb on the door of their house. In that case, the angel of the Lord would pass over that house. Israel did that, and as a result, their firstborn were fine. But Pharaoh's firstborn, the one who would later become God, was slain. At the end of that, Pharaoh said, "Leave, get out. I'm done, I've had it, take off." Egypt did, of course. And then in late chapter 12 and in chapter 13, we have Israel leaving Egypt. Now, it is interesting that in the middle of this, we do have a reference to the dedication of the firstborn. This is later codified in the book of Exodus and later in the book of Leviticus, where the firstborn of livestock, the firstborn male in a family, belongs to God, and he is to be redeemed. Israel leaves Egypt. There are some details given in chapters 13 and 14 on the pathway. It's an interesting study to examine some of the recent archaeological discoveries. The pathway from Egypt to Sinai may have taken place a lot farther south and in a much deeper section of the Red Sea than we at first had anticipated. Google that and listen to some of the presentations. I've found anywhere from a half hour to an hour and a half explanation of that. Very, very interesting stuff. And we end chapter 14 with the destruction of Egypt's chariots. Not necessarily their entire army, but certainly the state-of-the-art attack vehicles, the chariots, who up to that point was relatively unknown in the world. But Egypt's chariots were new technology. They were one of the reasons Egypt was so successful in war. But when they faced this slave nation leaving Egypt, they were destroyed in an instant. In the middle of all of this, chapter 14, verses 15 to 18, Israel has left Egypt. The Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart again, and he pursued Israel to kill the entire nation. And the people of Israel began to cry out to the Lord. Chapter 14, verse 15. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to get moving. Pick up your staff, raise your hand over the sea. Divide the waters so the Israelites can walk through the middle of the sea on dry ground. I'll harden the hearts of the Egyptians. They'll charge in after the Israelites, and my great glory will be displayed through Pharaoh and his troops, his chariots, and his charioteers. When my glory is displayed through them, all Egypt will see my glory and know that I am the Lord. We started this whole section looking at Pharaoh saying, I don't know the Lord. We end this section with the statement that all Egypt, not just Pharaoh, but all Egypt will know that I am the Lord. So what does it mean to know? Well, certainly there are some elements, some cognitive elements there. Pharaoh was unaware of the name of God. Israel was by and large unaware of the name of God. God let himself be known to them by his personal name, Yahweh. Pharaoh learned about God. Through the plagues, he learned of God's power. But knowing God goes beyond a simple recognition of God's power. This verb to know is used for close, intimate relationships. Israel came to know that the Lord was God, not just by seeing his power, but by sensing his mercy and compassion for them. Knowing God today means experiencing God. Oh yeah, we know some of his power. We know some of his awesomeness. But we also know of his great mercy and his great grace to us. So that begs the question, do you know God today? Have you experienced his mercy and his grace so that you can be in a relationship with him? Like, follow, and subscribe to this devotional on whatever platform you use to listen to it. Tomorrow, we'll look at Psalms and learn some generic instructions on how to live a good life.